All right, what's up, guys? Good Saturday morning. It's Ben with Tactical Nutrition, and I wanted to talk to you guys about sports nutrition. This is a bit more of a technical video, but sports nutrition is, I would say, tier 2 nutrition. There's the basics out there that people need to learn. Just the most basic things, such as drinking enough water, good sources of protein, fat, carbs, all that stuff. By the way, if you need help with nutrition, you can comment below, email me, or apply for a training program at my website. Or hit me up on Instagram, Tactical Nutrition Fit, where I do nutrition coaching and supplements. Anyway, but basic nutrition is what the average person, let's say you're just like you're 40 pounds overweight, middle-aged, need to lose some weight. You don't really need to worry much about sports nutrition. Sports nutrition is advanced nutrition that is usually used, obviously, for sports. It involves a lot of timing, specific nutrients, supplements, electrolytes, hydration, timing. It's tier 2 advanced nutrition, right? Now I'll talk to you about why it's very useful. So the workouts that you do let's say you're just trying to lose weight, right? You gotta understand that the workouts you're doing, if you're working out in the gym or going outside or whatever you're doing, any type of movement, whatever your plan is, the stimulus is the activity. And what that does is it puts you in a position hormonally, metabolically, in order to achieve the desired goal. So if you're trying to lose weight, you want to get yourself into a position where your body is creating more fat-burning hormones. We'll call it cortisol, although that's oversimplification. But your body is in a mode where it's got an increased metabolism, and it's in a fat-burning mode, as opposed to just cycling through the carbs that most people are eating. That's one of the biggest problems, is most people are eating too many carbs, too much sugar. And so instead of burning fat, their body's just burning the massive amounts of calories that they're consuming, and they end up gaining weight because, your body's gonna preferentially burn whatever it is you're eating more of. Generally, it adapts. So if you're drinking a lot of soda and things like that, you're getting massive quantities of sugar, which is very quick energy. That's why you get these huge energy fluctuations, though, because it's not good for your body. But sports nutrition, what I want to talk about here is sports nutrition is a little bit more advanced. You have to pretty much know what you're doing a little bit more. But what it will do is, I think of my workouts. I enjoy working out in a weird way. So I don't always like to go to the gym, but I like to have good workouts. When I go in there and I feel sluggish and dehydrated and weaker than usual, nobody likes that. You want to feel like you're on a roll. And so what I'm thinking here is, going off of what I said before about how the workout is the stimulus, if you can maximize your workouts and just make them extremely productive, it's going to help your fat burning and your muscle gain in the end. So that's what I'm talking about with sports nutrition. And I'm not going to go into every little detail about sports nutrition, but I will go into some key factors here. Number one being nutrient timing. All right. When you have different nutrients, when you consume different nutrients, your body responds in kind, right? So that being said, when you consume carbohydrates, your body is you're going to raise your blood sugar levels. The reason this is because now the sugar is being circulated throughout your body. The glucose, it's not just sugar, but it's glucose, essentially. It's being metabolized. Other polysaccharides, complex carbohydrates, are being broken down by your liver, and glucose, blood glucose levels. Glucose is the simple sugar that is being transported around your bloodstream, and picked up by different tissues to be used by the mitochondria. And so what happens is, what you want to do is time so that when you do have more carbohydrates, you want to keep them around the workout window. Let's say you're working out at 9 a.m., right? You wake up at 6:30. You've therefore fasted for about 8 hours, assuming, right? Whatever time you went to bed. So you're in a fasted state. Your blood sugar levels are going to be low. What you'd want to do is consume a bit of carbohydrate before the workout. Not a ton, right? Not crappy carbs as in like soda and stuff like that. But what I usually do is, if I do, and I'm trying to gain muscle at the moment, so I do eat more than usual. I will have like 4 or 5 eggs with like a little bit of like maybe half of a red potato, like a small red potato baked, obviously. Those are my carbohydrates because there's no real carbs in the eggs. Those eggs are, if you just have eggs before the workout, it's just fat and protein. It's like, it's not going to give you more energy, maybe a little bit, a little bit because of the protein. But what I'm doing is I'm having a little bit of potato, and the reason is, and it might be something else, you could do like rice or something like that, but for breakfast, we tend to stick to breakfast type foods. It's going to give me more energy for my workout, and then therefore I can go harder in my workout, and when I leave the workout, I'm going to be more in a hyper metabolic state, burning fat and also gaining muscle. There's more to that, but keeping the carbohydrates around the workout window, which would mean like your carbohydrates, let's say you're overweight, but you're trying to lose weight and gain muscle, which is optimal. So you'd want to keep your carbohydrates within like 90 minutes before and 90 minutes after the workout, and then low throughout the rest of the day. Okay? You don't need to consume a bunch of carbs the rest of the day. That's the reason being, when I talk about timing, nutrient timing, is that the workout is obviously it should be very active. You should be weightlifting, doing intense cardio, things like that. And then throughout the rest of the day, depending on your job, obviously, or whatever it is you're doing, you keep the carbohydrates lower, because a lot of people aren't as active throughout the rest of the day. You might have a desk job, so you don't need carbohydrates. What I'm saying here is, this is sports nutrition. You need carbohydrates around the intensity times to fuel those workouts. Okay? Now, there's people that you can argue back and forth about keto diet and carnivore diet, which is like very low carb, but I'm talking here about basic sports nutrition. Timing. You're timing the carbohydrates around the workout and then keeping them lower around the times where you're not active. If you're sitting on the couch, this is what happens when you sit on the couch and eat like potato chips. Yes, you're going to gain body fat because you're not doing anything. Your body doesn't need the carbohydrates. Your body needs carbohydrates for fuel when it needs quick fuel, right? If you're not consuming carbohydrates the rest of the day and you're not being as active, then your body is going to shift into fat burning mode, because fat is a lot more efficient. It's a little bit harder to break down, but it's more efficient. You get more calories. There's 9 calories in a gram of fat versus 4 in a gram of carbohydrates. So now your body's in a fat burning mode. So the entire like idea of being in a fat burning mode can be misleading, because oftentimes if you're keeping the carbs low, oftentimes at times where you're not, like when you're sleeping, your body's going to predominantly use fat. It's still using fuel. Your body is always using fuel. Your cells need energy. Your brain needs energy. It's always working. Sometimes more than others. But technically when you're sleeping, your body's in a very like high percentage of fat burning. It's not burning a lot of fat by numbers, but percentage wise, because you're always burning percentages of each macronutrient. Your body's burning more fat while you sleep. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, people. Basically, what I'm saying is carbs are for quick energy. Fat is for sustained energy. Protein is a constant throughout the day. It's a mirror image, so my hands move weird. Protein's a constant because you just need it for maintaining your muscle, gaining muscle, and also keeping your body full and keeping your blood amino acid levels constant. But anyway, so that's number one with sports nutrition. Number two is electrolytes and hydration. This is a huge part. Let's say I like to hike 14ers. I don't do a ton of them, but I do like 1 or 2 a year. Go back to Colorado with the family. And it's a very long, sustained endeavor. Or let's say you go for a cycling, any kind of long cardio where you do have an elevated heart rate. Maybe you're going for a lot of swimming, anything like that. Your body's going to be sweating quite a bit. If it's dry, you may not notice how much you're sweating. In humidity, you always do, but you're sweating no matter what. When you're hot, your body will sweat to cool itself. And what happens is you lose, obviously, water, so you need to rehydrate, but you also lose electrolytes. So a lot of times people will just be drinking water, which is better than nothing. But as your electrolyte levels get thrown off from a cellular standpoint, scientifically, there's different gradients outside and inside of cells having to do with calcium and potassium and sodium. This is why they recommend sodium and potassium so much for electrolytes. There's others in there like magnesium, for instance. But so when your potassium levels and sodium levels are off, there's not as much it's not as easy to move nutrients from the blood to the cell. The gradients, but you don't need to worry about gradients. So basically your electrolyte levels will become off kilter. Now your body will a lot of times naturally go to its preferred state as long as you get enough of each, right? So you don't need to overdo it, but what I do is I've got supplements and products that have sodium, potassium, electrolytes in them. I always keep them on me while I'm doing these hikes or cycling or whatever it is. Even during a hard workout, though, you need this too. If you work out hard for 90 minutes and you're really sweating, and I'm jumping rope and weightlifting and stuff, not just walking on a treadmill, that's not a hard workout, sorry. But unless you walk for hours. But you need electrolytes. So, and just having potassium, though, isn't going to cut it. So a lot of these cheap energy drinks or like Gatorade, for instance, out there, that's not going to be the greatest. This is a cheap form. What I'll do is I'll add Celtic sea salt to my pre-workout drink. But you need sodium and potassium. And again, there's other ones to maximize sports nutrition. This is kind of the key here. There's cheap sports nutrition, as in, I'll drink a Gatorade. And then there's maximizing sports nutrition, where you're hitting all the different aspects, and you'll notice your workouts will be way better. I know a girl that does a lot of long runs, and we've been talking about electrolytes, and she started adding electrolyte mixture to her water, and she's noticed how she has sustained. You can just sustain going. I've noticed this with cycling with myself, because I don't bike a lot, and my brother does. We've done some really long rides, and I notice I can't really keep up with him on a bike. I'm a lot better shape than he is for the most part, but he cycles a lot more than I do. So he does 50, 60 miles, but we'll go out there and I can pretty much keep up as long as I'm hydrating, having electrolytes. And one other thing I'll add is carbohydrates during the sustained cardio. So, but not having a banana with you or something like that. Or I've even seen cyclists that keep a baked potato in their back pocket. I'm not kidding. To carb up. because your blood, again, what we were just talking about at the beginning of this video, where your body prefers carbohydrates for sustained bursts of energy. So when you're cycling and all of a sudden let's say you cycled 20 minutes already, 20 miles, and then you've got a hill climb, your body's going to move into carbohydrate heavy fuel to get up that climb. You feel the heart rate. Basically, you can go off your heart rate and your breathing. When your heart rate pumps up, you can feel the lactic acid building up in your legs. You're breathing hard. Your body is turning over to carbs because, again, they're quicker fuel to sustain the burst. So if I were just to have an electrolyte mixture only and go for a super long bike ride, I would still not have as much of, I would still not be as effective, probably not have as good of a time going up like those hills after a while, because the electrolytes are they're better than nothing, but your body is still depleted of carbohydrates, which goes back to what I said at the very beginning of the video about keeping carbohydrates around the intense times. But so what I'll do is, again, when you go cycling, is I'll keep my electrolyte mixture, but I'll have a little backpack and maybe I'll have like a banana, like trail mix. At this point, you can be more liberal with your carbs. Things that you normally wouldn't want to eat, like I'll grab that crappy gas station trail mix that's got like M&Ms in it and like sugar-coated little fruit, dried fruit and stuff like that, but it's got nuts. It's a nice little like energy mix, but you wouldn't want to eat that like while you're sitting on the couch, even though it's like, oh, it's trail mix. It's like, because it's basically like half M&Ms. But when you're cycling and you're doing that kind of hard intensity, those M&Ms are going to get burnt right up. It's not ideal, but it's better. Okay? So you can keep you don't want to just have like candy bars, but you see energy bars that are basically sugar. A lot of times they're just basically like different types of sugar. That's why they call them energy bars, because they give you that carbohydrate. So that's aspect number 2 of sports nutrition. And there's more to it. Aspect number 3 would be like, I guess, specific supplementation. So increasing your metabolism after the workout to enhance fat burn. Caffeine. Caffeine has been proven. It's one of the only proven supplements that essentially it causes more fat oxidation because it's going to cause more fat release into the blood, and then it'll be used as fuel. Now, what this also means is if you're drinking coffee, sitting at a desk all day, just because your body like drops fat and like triglycerides back into your bloodstream doesn't mean your body's going to burn it. So what'll happen is you get the, epinephrine effects of the caffeine and the adrenal effects of the caffeine, but you're just cycling all this stuff through your blood, and then it's just going to get reabsorbed and you're not going to lose weight. That's why it's like, if you drink coffee while you're sitting at a desk, your heart rate may increase, things like that, but you're not going to lose body fat. But caffeine during a workout, which is why people take pre-workouts, obviously makes you feel better, increases your work output, makes the workout more effective. That's why caffeine is in the pre-workout. Now it gets a little absurd with how much caffeine is in some of these, but caffeine does help. That's one of those things that this is impacting your hormones and metabolism and making your body burn more fat. There's other things. There's like herbs, cayenne pepper, green tea. These things give you a little energy. Cayenne pepper doesn't technically give you energy, but there's thermogenesis to burn fat. I guess that's what I'll end the video on. Thermogenesis is just where like natural things that increase your body's metabolism, which all around increases fat oxidation, right? So it's like, I'm talking about the cayenne pepper, but there's other things, other supplements that you can take. I won't go into them in this video. mainly because I can't think of them off the top of my head, still early in the morning. But they will cause your body's natural metabolism to increase. So caffeine's a big one. Now, what I would not recommend, you don't want to go too much caffeine because you can just burn your body out. Your body's going to get used to it. It causes sleep issues after a while. You know, like you don't want to just, that's why drinking coffee like all day, every day, I wouldn't recommend. It's not good for a number of reasons. But guys, I hope that made sense. I'll go into this more in detail. If you have more questions, drop them in the comments. I'd like to know what you think. Other sports supplements, other metabolic supplements that you may have, sports nutrition tips, questions, anything, drop them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe the video and share this with anyone that needs help with their workouts. And I will see you guys in the next one.